let's get into it, bro. So wait, firstly, before we start, how'd you pull up from the challenge?
Oh, I was so sore. Like my hamstrings after like essentially it's like a million like RDLs, but with like explosive like movement, obviously. And like my thumb is still like trashed. I've still got like heaps of skin off my thumb. But my pinky's all right. So I was so wrecked. I felt really good the day of, and then the last couple of days, I mean, like the DOMs were crazy.
So a bit of context if people are listening to this. So do you want to explain it? You explain the challenge.
Okay, so I was against Alex.
You just don't say who wins, all right? Because that's the secret part.
Won't disclose that. Don't worry. So I had to lift 21.1 tons of cleans. So we're using a 40 kilo bar, and I was racing against Alex Cleary, who was running 21.1 Ks around an oval right next to me. So I think that's basically the concept. And the cleans were just trashing my hands and forearms because I guess it wasn't heavy enough that I really had to load up my legs heaps, but rather like I feel like I could like muscle the reps out. And I was just absolutely taxing my upper body more than I would have hoped.
Yeah, man. I was cooked watching you.
Yeah. It definitely felt like at the start it felt too easy because he was so consistent and he's just like chipping away. He was playing like checkers. He was just like chipping away. And I was over here doing chess, like trying to work out the math on, where he's at and what I need to be at to try and stay ahead. So it was a really tricky one mentally as well.
The thing is, right, when we were planning it, 21,000 kilos versus 21 Ks, it made logical sense that the lifting part would be somewhat easier. But the thing is that the rate of diminishing returns, like you get to a certain point when you're lifting that it just gets harder and harder and harder to produce that time. We're running like you might hold 5-minute pace for the whole time, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think Alex had a really good plan in mind. Like he sort of knew what he wanted to hit because he was out there chasing a PB as well. So he was like pretty dialed in. Like I know it didn't take many laps till he wasn't talking to you guys too much as he was coming around. He was sort of locked in.
Yeah, 100%. He was absolutely locked in. Like he didn't really change pace the whole way through.
No, he was so good. I think he went out pretty hot, but then he found it after like a couple of laps. He was like set.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your challenge. So I was doing a deep dive stalk on what it is, and before I actually saw the deadlift challenge, I saw there was something about you boxing someone for like.
Oh
what
yeah,
the hell,
you found that.
What the hell is this?
Okay, so this was a couple of years ago now. I found this record because I've had a few fights. I've done boxing since I was probably about 12. So I found this record because I've been going down this endurance path. That was the most continuous boxing rounds, 3-minute rounds with a 1-minute rest until you basically give up. So the record will always stand, and this is what I'm prefacing this with. It'll always stand as 127 rounds, which is about 8 hours-ish. And I didn't know this at the time, but in applying for the challenge, I found out that, with like all this CTE and brain injury research, Guinness were like, no one can ever attempt this again because they're not encouraging people to go out there and like get hit in the head for, 8+ hours. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So I originally went into it with a plan. Like I was raising money for Headspace and doing this challenge. And it was sort of this nice collision of two worlds that I was currently in. And then found out I couldn't actually get the record, but I was like, hey, I can still go for the record anyway. And just know internally, like I got there or I didn't get there. Obviously, it's a lot of logistics because you've got all these different people that can only stay in there for a couple of rounds. Like, I don't know if you've done any boxing, but 3 minutes is a long time.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I was so gassed doing, 1-minute rounds.
Yeah. So I had to organize that. And I was lucky we had like the owner of our gym is like a pro fighter. So he did like a massive chunk of rounds with me like early in the day. And then I was just having like, buddy, every man, woman, and child, whoever wanted to get in there, just jump in and just fight me. There were some people that I would say weren't proficient boxers, but all I would do is I'd basically just cop punches. Like they were actually the worst rounds I did. Was like I had some like girls get in there, and I said like I won't hit you at all, and they just bashed me. And my arms were like trash just from like defending the whole time. And it was
how did you decide on like the intensity, right? Because I mean, you're in there for what, 8 hours?
I was
you
in there
had
for a bit over 9. Because I ended up doing 140 rounds because I wanted to surpass the record.
So you did 140 rounds of 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, with 1 minute off. Yeah, it was brutal. The intensity was judged basically on like whatever they wanted to do. I was like, I'll just match it. So some people in there just to like spar. So like it was very, technical. They weren't trying to necessarily knock me out. But some people also were only in there for a couple of rounds. They're like, I'm going in here to throw punches. So I had a couple of guys jump in and like start throwing hard. And I had to like check them a bit, like not verbally, but like physically check them. Like go, okay, if you're going to step it up, I'm going to step it up too. I don't have the energy. And also like, you know how it is, hours into an event, you don't have the patience anymore. So like I was getting frustrated. They were throwing like bombs at me. So I'd start to throw some back and go, just woo up a bit here because it's a long day in the office and I don't need to get knocked out like 3 hours into this thing.
9 hours of boxing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What gave you the idea to do that? Because I've never heard of a challenge like that.
Honestly, neither did I. It's because I started to dip my toes in the water of doing some like ultra endurance type events. And then because I was like preparing to come back and have a couple of fights because I just retired from footy, I guess I just chucked it in Google one day and I was like, hey, what's the world record for most continuous rounds? And it literally just popped up. I was like, this is perfect. This is going to give me a good excuse to train and also keep my endurance up. It was something I hadn't done before because I didn't know how long it would take. So it was a very interesting one.
You haven't fought 150 people for 9 hours before?
Exactly. I hadn't done that either.
Yeah, neither. So how did you train for it then? What, did you just bang out tons of boxing rounds, more than usual at low intensity or?
Pretty much. Like I did do a lot where I might rock up on a Saturday morning before sparring and I'll just be on like the heavy bag, just doing 3-minute rounds, literally like boring stuff, like throwing straights, uppercuts, like literally just ticking out arm movement because the war of attrition here, like similar to the cleans, was that it's things like your triceps and your biceps get so sore just from like having to hold your arms up all day or have to throw so many jabs to keep someone away. So it was like the small muscles were just like, I needed to just condition them as much as I could because the legs were going to be fine. Like you can dance around and people can move around you. You can just stand there and cop some punches if you need to. So yeah, I would do that. I'd do like, let's say 30, 40, 50 rounds. It would progressively get harder as I got closer. And then I had people come in and spar afterwards.
Was this the first, I guess, endurance-based challenge you've done or have you dabbled in these kind of things before?
That was like the first official one, I would say. I think I'd done maybe like a marathon and like a 50K ultra before that. That's sort of what had got my interest peaked for things that were taking, half a day or potentially things that were going to take, up to 24 hours to do. So this was definitely like the first time I went in deep.
Yeah, what an interesting start. Crazy.
Yeah, I actually love that it was skill-based as well.
Yeah, I like that. It's interesting. It's very unique, man. I haven't heard of anyone do something like that before. I mean, you've seen every Tom, Dick and Harry's running across Australia right now, but no one's ever fought 400,000 people. So that's crazy.
It is crazy. It's a shame that it's an unbreakable record because I think you'd see some really cool numbers. Like you could definitely go longer than what I went. It became a logistic thing. Like I beat the number I wanted to beat. I used everyone up. Like, who else wants to stay around overnight, like punching me? So,
yeah, it's a harder ask because I mean, you're not gonna have too many volunteers of people that are just off the street, everyday people coming in. And if you do, they're probably going to try and knock your head off.
Yeah, exactly right. And I did like at the end, we actually raffled off like the final rounds to like people in the gym. So I think a guy paid $1,000 to do the last round with me, and he come in hard. Like,
well, yeah, you got to get your money's worth.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure like he was throwing some hard punches, and I pulled up to him a little bit because I was like, I'm nearly done here, and I'm also not going to get put on show in front of everyone because the crowd was there for the end. And I like put a good body shot on him, and he like did like basically took a knee, like, oh, that was a bit hard. And so I felt actually a little bit bad. I was like, oh, I didn't actually want to hurt him because I need to keep going here.
Imagine getting knocked out by a bloke who's on his 140th round.
You'd be filthy. Yeah, you'd be so filthy.
Oh, no good. Did you pull up all right from it? Like, did you have issues from it?
I don't think I had any injuries per se. I think just general soreness. It all starts to blend in now. Once you do a couple of long events, like the couple of days post, you just seem to be worn down. Even right now, like I've done a couple of events in these last couple of weeks and just starting to get a bit fluey and things like that. Just like your immune system's just pretty cooked, I'd say.
Yeah, your CNS gets fried and you just get it's not a nice feeling.
Zero motivation. Like I went for a run last night and just every ounce of my body was just like, stop, please stop.
Well, how long ago was UTA for you? That was just around the corner, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a week before we did the challenge against Alex.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I had to do another set of physical tests during the week as well.
Sick.
So, yeah.
Well, you choose it, so it's your fault.
That's right. I can't blame anyone.
So, all right. So you've done that challenge. Then you went on and did this deadlifting challenge. So I was trying to find out what exactly it was, right? So if I've got this wrong, let me know. But it's the most weight deadlifted in 24 hours.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you tried that how long ago was it? That was the same time I did my dips, wasn't it?
It was. So a couple of months now. What date was that? Feb?
God, I couldn't even tell you,
Something
man.
like
4 months, maybe?
Yeah, maybe about 4 months.
So tell me about it. How did it go?
Oh, I guess I could start at the planning because I reckon this is where I've gone wrong. It was definitely something that perceivably seemed like if you were just consistent, it was achievable. And probably learning since that, it's probably best with these events to front load a little bit more. That's my biggest takeaway. So I guess in planning for it, I just progressively overloaded volume over several months. I was playing with weight, so I was originally thinking go heavier weight and have more rest. And then I run into these problems in the long sessions that I started getting headaches just from like the ground shaking me every time I like put the barbell down to pick it back up. And I was just getting these unbearable like headaches turning into migraines that I just couldn't recover from. So I'd get to the end of like, it seemed to be like 3-4 hours with a heavier weight. Just my brain couldn't handle the rattling. It was almost like, it was worse than boxing, honestly.
Crazy. So how long did that take before you started getting that issue?
3-4 hours. So It would feel really good, but just the brain rattle was like hurting, like literally hurting me.
Is that because of the velocity in which you're hitting the ground? Like it's shaking?
I think it's just that little shake. Just the difference between like my hands on the bar and that little gap between the bar and the plates on the bar, that little like rattle there is. If I take too long and I like gently put it down and then take the slack out of the bar.
Accelerate fatigue, right?
Yeah. So that was not going to work. So I had to sort of like just tap and go reps. And physically I'd feel really good, but physically like body wise, I'd feel really good. But like my brain was just rattling so much that I couldn't handle it. And I figured it's probably not great in training to be like loading up on Panadols to try and like fight off a headache just to see what I could do in 24 hours. So I adapted like a lighter weight strategy and just be like really consistent. And I got through like some longer sessions, like 6-hour odd sessions, really fine. Like I get to the end and I'm like, sweet, I can do this all day. And that's sort of where I was in training.
What weight did you choose?
50 kilos.
So that was 10 on it. No, was it 15 on each side?
15 on each side. Yeah. And I was doing that. Like the plan was to do that for 50 minutes. So I think that would, it's 500 kilos a minute for 50 minutes. So that's like whatever, 25,000 kilos per hour. And over 24 hours, that would have got me well over the number that I needed to hit, which was 580,000 kilos. So I had a really nice, consistent plan with consistent breaks that I could recover, get some nutrition in, look after the body, and then go again. And that's basically like training, the end of training. I was locked into that. On the day, I was locked into that. And then, as you know, because we did it on the same day, I don't know how hot it was there, but
it was cold.
It was cold. You were cold.
Yeah, I was cold.
I was absolutely like burning. Like I was in a shed, so that was one big mistake. I was in like a normal sort of like shed gym, just with like whirlybirds up the top, no aircon or anything. It was 30 odd degrees. Humidity was like 90 something. And after like my second set of 10, I was on like about 20 deadlifts and I was sweating already. I was like, oh no, this is like the worst conditions I could do on this day. And it didn't matter how much water I drank throughout the day. Like I was starting to cramp, like in like my triceps, just from holding the bar close. Mainly triceps were like the first thing to go.
Which is just wild to me that your deadlifting and your triceps have gone first.
Yeah, just because of the amount of time, like my arms are locked out holding the bar close. So they were constantly on, like isometrically, even though they're not moving. And yeah, I didn't think it was going to be a thing either, but that was probably the thing that went first, and I just couldn't keep up with the sweat. I was just sweating so much. But physically, I felt really good. I was just like gassing with sweat. I couldn't control it at all. And I literally thought if I can just fight through, so I started in the morning, I thought if I can fight through to dark, it might get a bit cooler. And even when the sun went down, it was just, the humidity was just as high. And I was just fighting this uphill battle. And I remember about maybe 10, 11 hours in, that's when it started to like really get hard. And I sort of went into like a super dark place. Like I was like, no one could talk to me. There was people like counting my reps, and I didn't even know what rep I was on. I would just pick up the bar and I would have like cramping triceps. I just have to like let them cramp and just hold on to the bar, pick it up 10 times. Someone would say like 10, I'd know I'm done. And I'd like fall into a chair and just like, I couldn't even put my arms down. I have to go like this to rest.
Oh,
just
no.
so I could stretch my tricep out. So I'd be sitting there resting like an idiot with my hands above my head, and then trying to like eat food and whatever, get electrolytes in. And yeah, it was a horrible few hours. Like I reckon there was 3 or 4 hours where it's like time just didn't move. I was just unaware of what I was doing. Just monotony of picking up the bar, being told what to do, not knowing what number I was on. I was actually chipping away at the weight really well. Like my total accumulation was moving, but I wasn't really coherent with what was going on.
Do you think that was because of the heat, or was it just because you just thrown yourself into something too quick? Or
I thought it was the heat. Like the weight felt fine. The weight wasn't really the issue. Like if someone said you've got to bump the weight up, I could have moved a heavier weight. That wouldn't have probably been an issue. But the heat had knocked me around for already 12 hours, and then I still had another 12 to go. So I was in that.
So when did you decide it was out of reach?
When I got to, it was partway through like hour 15.
Oh,
so I had a couple of things going on. I went to 16 hours. That's when I called it. But like partway through 15, the ghost of, I think his name's Nick Riding. If he was there deadlifting next to me, his ghost that's where he'd like sort of breached me just before that 16-hour mark. And there was no way in the last 8 hours I was picking up my pace to where I was at. Hence why I said front loading was probably a better option. So he sort of passed me, or that ghost passed me around 16 hours. And I also had to wait. I had a guy coming about an hour because you got to have people validate it, as you're aware. So I had a guy coming in to validate it, and he had to drive about an hour. And I was like, mate, don't drive an hour. Like I'm about to get caught by this ghost. I can just keep deadlifting, but for what reason other than just to put myself through pain? So
what were these dark thoughts? I'd love to know what yours are, because I get some pretty weird ones and I've heard some pretty crazy stories, but when you're sitting there not coherent, what's going through your head?
I think there's just like, I usually think of it like a devil and an angel on a shoulder, and one's just saying you can't do it. This is too hard. You can quit. Everyone will be happy if you quit now. Like it's okay. And then you've got that little bit of light on the angel side, just saying like, you can keep going. I always think, one thing I think about when running or doing any endurance-based event is you can just be perfect for like one more set or perfect for another 100 meters. If you're just good for that little section there, then you deal with the next section. And that's what I was doing. I just literally wait for my person to say, get up and do your deadlifts. I'd be like, okay, no matter how tired you are, I can pick up that 10 more times. And I basically was doing like a one more set for like hundreds of more sets.
Far out.
So just chip away, like literally just think I can be perfect for 10 at least, and then I'll deal with another 10 after I'm done. Just compartmentalize it into one single chunk.
When do you think the option of quitting entered your head? Was it instantaneous, or did you feel like it came up later?
I think it come quite deep, like probably around the 14 to 15. Like literally when the ghost was like nipping
That's
at
not
my
too
heels.
bad. That's not too bad.
Well, I knew like I set a consistent goal that would get me to beat the record by not much anyway. Like I knew I wouldn't beat it until 22, 23 hours. So I knew I was in for the long haul. So like mentally, I think prior to starting, I knew I'm not going to really know if I'm there until I'm nearly there. So I was in for the long haul. I wasn't thinking this is going to be over in 12 hours and it's mine. I knew the record was decent. And I know in hindsight that I would definitely think about front loading with a heavier weight and be a bit more intense early on and probably build a buffer up on that ghost I'm talking about. And then if I need to then implement a strategy where I, drop the weight down or drop the reps down, I've got something to play with and then motivate to stay ahead of. Whereas my plan was that I was just going to be so consistent and just like be Mr. Reliable throughout the whole thing. Like I didn't have enough room to not be perfect, I would say.
Yeah. Well, hindsight's a bit of a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah. So, if I got there, I would have been like, oh, sweet, I'm a genius.
So just help me understand. I just want to make sure I've got this right, and maybe other people would be confused as well. So if the records, what was the total number that you had to get?
580,000 kilos.
That's okay. So, and then every time you lift it, that brings it up by 50 kilos.
Yeah. If that's your weight.
Okay. And what, you got to go full lockout at the top, all the way back down. That's one rep, 50 kilos. Okay. All right. Crazy. So how many reps is that total then off that weight? I mean, I can get a calculator out if we need, but.
We might need a calculator. I think it was.
Let's get it out.
Along the lines of maybe like 12,000.
Oh, God.
I can't remember.
All right. So what, let's,
or 8,000?
I'm going to pull it up. So we got, what was the kilos? 540,000?
580.
580,000.
I guess I was aiming for 600, but that was like my number.
Okay, divided by 50 kilos. So you had to do, it's 11,600 to get 580,000. So 11,600 deadlifts, man. That is fucking crazy when you actually think of it like that. Because when you see 580,000 kilos, it doesn't even compute for me. I just got no idea what's going on.
No, neither do I.
To tell me to lift, like even lifting a bar with no weight for 12,000 reps would be horrible.
I think so. Like that's why there's been a few. I haven't got there, but like there's been a few people the last couple of years that have attempted this record and all come up short. And the magic number for everyone has been, I want to get 600,000, and just no one's got there since Nick Riding, I think his name is.
And when did he break it?
I think it was maybe 2022.
Okay, so it's somewhat new. It's not standing from like the 90s or something.
No, but like even before him, there was people trying to hit 600. I've just seen written a few times like 600,000 is that target number that just seems to be he's got the closest. So the person before him had it at like 530, but I think they were still aiming for 600,000.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
Did you pull up pretty bad from that, or was that a pretty...
It was... Again, just like adrenal dump or like CNS just like cooked afterwards and just complete like posterior chain and triceps, obviously.
and the random triceps.
Yeah.
What gave you the idea to do that one? I mean, the boxing one's a bit odd and this one's certainly a unique one as well. Have you got a book of just unique ones, or where are you getting these from?
I don't. I've actually like done a fair bit of work in like powerlifting gyms. I had involvement with powerlifters. So like the jumper I've got on right now is a powerlifting gym, Hunter Performance Center, who my good mate owns. So I thought, something along the lines of strength endurance was like a different angle to go for. I mean, I'm not, I don't have the, like, if you asked someone like a Ned Brockman, he would probably say, hey, I'm not a runner, but he ran across Australia.
Yeah. And he's still a decent runner, isn't he?
Yeah. Right. And I'm not Ned Brockman. So the running endurance, like I love personally doing, even though I'm not out there to win, I'm there to, find a new distance, do something I haven't done before. So that's how I sort of chase it through the running space. But going for any of those records are just probably beyond me right now. Like I'd have to completely shift gears, run for a couple of years, be dedicated, have coaches, etc., etc. Whereas strength is something that has been in my background and I've always enjoyed doing. So that's why I went for something a little bit different. Hence the boxing and the strength. They've sort of come from a melding of backgrounds.
I don't know about you, but one of the reasons I totally agree with what you're saying, and I am the exact same. I've always found that I like doing these endurance strength exercises, but let me see if this is the same for you. But I like it because I don't have to commit to being super skinny as well. And I
Yes.
think that is like, I know that is other reasons of why I do endurance, but I want what the endurance world gives me from a mental point of view,
Yeah.
but I don't want the body shape of an elite runner. So I'm like, well, let's just do a muscular exercise for extended period of time.
Yeah, it can't hurt, right? Like you've got to be able to retain some muscle if you're doing strength-based endurance.
Did you notice much like muscular changes when you were training for the deadlifts?
I don't know. I reckon I definitely noticed performance changes. It's probably hard when you're looking at yourself all the time to really notice actual physical, like aesthetic changes. Just the ability of like my hemis and posterior chain. Like everyone always said to me during the lead up and on the day, like your back is going to be so sore. That's like the stigma with deadlifting, right? And yeah, it never once was. Like I never had a back injury or like tweak or even like soreness at all. It was purely like hemis and glutes. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I've got a nice dumpy behind me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a little look on the challenge, but yeah.
I think you were pretty close a couple of times. Actually.
Yeah, definitely.
You nearly got hit in the nose by it.
Crazy, man. So when it comes to these things, right? Like, I'd love to get your opinion on why you do it. Like, what is it that attracts you to it? You know, because everyone's a little bit different. Everyone's got these own stories, but why not just, you know, do 3 sets of 10 reps? Why decide to do these things?
I think I'd be super bored just doing 3 sets of 10 reps. That's like one probably underlying reason. Just generally going to the gym, if I don't have a goal in mind, it's sometimes a bit hard to be motivated for it. So that's probably one underlying thing. I think the creativity, doing something that's like different and you've got a plan like logistically for, that definitely sparks something in me. Like I love the logistics of doing like an ultra marathon. You know, you got certain points you got to get to, got all your gear. Like that stuff is just exciting. And then on the day, it's like, oh, I've actually got to go do this thing now. But I do get a lot of satisfaction just from the logistical side. So that helps.
That's the first, man. I've never heard someone say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit weird. No, but I've always been creative. Like I love creative stuff. Hence why I'm probably a teacher and get a chance to work with heaps of different like people's learning abilities and learning styles. So I'm sort of forced to be creative, and or it's because I enjoy it that I've ended up in this field. But I guess maybe the internal thing, I would say it's probably a little bit deeper, but I'd probably have a chip on my shoulder. Growing up, like since I was little, my first sport and first love was rugby league. And I played that for, I don't even know, 20 plus years. I played it semi-professionally for maybe like 8 to 10 years until it sort of ran its course until COVID. Never cracked NRL. Like I'd played NRL preseason trials. I'd got to train with like full-time NRL squads, played heaps of reserve grade, but never actually cracked it. So I'd say that chip is probably always going to be there, that I just failed that one childhood dream and just couldn't get over the edge, like that last step. And then it's almost like punishing myself for not being able to get there, I'd say. If I can do these things, I don't know if I'm capable of them, and prove to myself that I can actually do it, it's almost like I'm getting to not suppress, but like push back on something that didn't happen previously in my like sporting career.
How long did you play NRL for?
Well, never played NRL, so
sorry.
I don't want to get confused. That's all right.
My bad.
Just I played like semi-professional, so like New South Wales Cup or Queensland Cup, so the one league under.
I'm not from Sydney, you know, so it's Melbourne. I'm like
talk
AFL.
Yeah. So I played probably, I think about 80 games in that grade. And then I played obviously the grade below plenty, but I played open age since I was about 16. So in Tamworth, which is where I grew up, in Group 4, shout out to Group 4, I played, so the legal age is like 17 to play first grade. And I got an exemption early because the first grade coach was like, hey, I think this kid's going to play for us this year. Can you come and watch him? And my first game was against like some of the hardest teams in like a knockout preseason comp. So I was running out there as like a 16-year-old in a couple of months. And I think I ran out there and I scored the first or second try of the game. And then after that game, they were like, yeah, you'll be right, mate. So that was like my first year as an underage playing like first grade footy. And then from there, it sort of just stemmed to Sydney Shield, which is sort of like a fourth div into third div, second, which is reserve grade. And that's as far as I got.
Yeah, okay. There's definitely a correlation between like professional sport and people getting into, I guess, this ultra endurance category. I mean, I don't really know what to call yours. It's definitely ultra endurance, but
yeah,
it's a crazy couple of challenges. Nice, man. Well, look, there's one last question I'd like to ask you, which is a bit of a interesting one, but we're going to add it to the end of this show every time we do it. So you're the first one to answer it. So good luck.
Thank you.
What's one challenge that you'd love to see someone else do, but you'd never do yourself?
Ooh, that's really good.
Yeah, I put a lot of effort into it. Thanks.
Yeah. The interesting thing is like someone else doing it, not me. I'd like to say a swimming thing because I'd never do a swimming thing, but like I think Ross Edgley has done nearly every swimming crazy challenge there is out there. So that's a tough one. Honestly, like if I keep it the same as something I've failed at, like I'd like to see someone else do the deadlift one.
Yeah, nice.
And see how they would go. I guess I'd be happy to help and have them learn from my mistakes, but I think that would be a cool one to see. I think you'd be a good
one get out of here. So does that mean you'll never do that one again then? Is that what you're saying?
I've said I'm going to give it a couple of years. And if no one breaks it, I'll have another crack. Definitely.
Yeah, okay.
If someone can break it, they can go over 600. I don't know, it'd be a tough ask to get like another level up again. I'd think about it, but I'll give it a couple of years and see. Actually, I got one. I know. Burpees.
Here we go.
The 24-hour burpee record.
Oh, yeah. No, fuck that.
Yeah. Because you've done 3?
So
minutes?
I've done it. Well, funny enough, I don't know if won't bore everyone with this because I have told the story before, but I attempted a 24-hour burpee world record in 2018, which was a non-chest to floor one. So like those real kind of lame ones. Yeah. And we did more than that was required. So we did 11,000 when the record I think was around 10,000, but we measured the lines wrong, man. So, which was really sad.
You got done on logistics.
I got done on logistics. I needed you there.
I would have done that.
Yeah, you would have had me covered, but no, I was we measured the lines wrong, right? So when your feet go back, they have to go to a certain line. Yeah. Then when they come back towards your hands, your feet need to be like across the line. So when it said to the line, I took that as like, like
on the line.
Yeah, to the line, whatever, like on the line. But it was actually like you had to actually physically touch the line, which makes total sense. And I just did not think of it. So
that sucks.
Yeah, and honestly, records you wouldn't want to do again. There's not a chance I would ever attempt that again. No way.
No. That sounds like it'd be brutal.
Yeah, it was horrible, man. But they're all horrible. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that you get from doing anything for 24 hours or these long periods is that people see the challenge, but you don't see all these little things. Like, if you just took your finger, and I always use this analogy, if you just took your finger and you just rubbed it on a wall for 24 hours, eventually your finger would scab and it would become problematic. It's just that times all of your body.
Yeah, especially a burpee one. I feel like that's everything going on.
Yeah, anything with friction, like contact points. I mean, like if you do a bike ride for 24 hours and, anywhere that your hands, your
ass on the seat.
Yeah, all of that.
Horrible.
Nice, man. All right, well, we might end it there. Good stuff.
Thank you for having me.